I'm adding speakers. So Alexander Barnyakov, Paul Brody, Dimitrios Psarakis, Hart Montgomery, and Dr. Ramesh Ramados. Well, then I need to say also Dr. Hart Montgomery. So it is great to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining. I suggest we slightly change the agenda for this panel, because it was supposed to be me explaining what is this all about, and then you doing the introduction, and then we're going through the questions. I suggest let's start from you introducing yourself, and then we will process in the due course. I think the flow will be better this way.
Okay, I can start. So my name is Alex Bornikov. I work in the Ministry of Digital Transformation, and it's already like a couple of years that we've passed the law and rooting forward to launch the cryptocurrency market in Ukraine. I think we are close to this point, and I'm happy to be here to discuss DLT and other things.
All right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Brody. I'm the global blockchain leader at EY, and I'm also the chairman of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance.
Thank you, Hart.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Hart. I work for the Linux Foundation, where I serve as the CTO of Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, and I also run the Post-Quantum Cryptography Alliance.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ramesh? We cannot hear you. I think you're muted. Yeah, you're muted. There is a sign that your mic is muted.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ramesh Ramadas, I serve as the chair of the IEEE blockchain technical community.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we lost Dimitrios. I think let me then process maybe with the presentation, right? And then Dimitrios is not here. All right. So I will start with the presentation. So basically, I will go very quickly through the slides. So what is this all about? So impact of decentralization of the key sectors of Ukraine's digital economy is the research which we all in different roles are working on. So a little about myself. I'm a PhD in computer science. I work in infrastructure. So basically, for 8 years, I studied different approaches to blockchain infrastructure. But it is difficult to work on infrastructure without understanding the use cases. And real life use cases is my main focus for the last 8 years. So I work at Web3 Institute. So basically, this research is Web3 Institute is kind of a Web3 initiative of Ukraine. It is a project office which works for the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine and supports many different initiatives like Academy. Dimitrios joined us. So different activities in academy, industry, different research activities, and I will cover this topic a little later on the following slides. So how it all started? I joined this initiative in 2023, and I got lucky enough that from the early days I was involved into the work with on innovation strategy, which was presented in December of 2023. And it was interesting, but what caught our attention that, we were addressing the particular areas and it wasn't full, right? We were addressing the areas of the current interest. And we were thinking that it may make sense to create a research which can cover the main use cases across all the main sectors of the economy of Ukraine, to no matter whether there is a priority to implement them now or going forward, because having this map, it may be easier to create different plans and different activities for this implementation. So it was a good idea. It took a little bit for us to design how this is going to happen, and this summer the process started, and I currently serve as a lead researcher of this initiative, but this is the initiative of the group. So what the tasks we assigned to ourselves is first to Ukraine currently is doing a very good job at digitalization, and it is not a flattery. It is like the success of DIA app is a rather well-known case. In Ukraine, of course, and outside of Ukraine as well. So we decided that, and also we decided that we will need to not only do the analysis how the cases could be implemented in paper-based work, digitized and then put on DLT, because a lot of use cases sometimes we can hear like some sound titles like some company implemented blockchain at whatever, and they cut the expenses for 30% from their paper-based process, right? And when we hear this, I often think, if they would have just digitized the process, right, they would also probably achieve to some, I don't know, maybe 30, maybe whatever. So we made the task for ourselves a little bit more complicated. So we are combining not how it worked without digitalization, but how the decentralized case will be advantageous to already digitized case. So the second angle is privacy. So basically, of course, when we were reviewing a lot of government and enterprise and different other sectors, we have a lot of data which probably is better not to be public. So and the way privacy works in distributed ledger technology is different than how it works, for example, in databases, right? We don't have the same situation when we have like public database and then we click the checkbox, okay, login and password, and here we go, we have like private database. So it requires different design of the applications where we have like some private ledgers, private databases, public ledgers, some communications between them, some proofs, something revealed, something not revealed, etc. So this is an additional topic of our study, and also our task here is to combine both technical aspects of this and kind of the popular science. So basically, we need to explain sometimes difficult things using like very simple language to stakeholders which may not be technical enough. So these are the details of our approach. And currently, we started this summer, so we are not that far in the process, but we have already done something. So we on the screen you can see some of the industries which are currently in the works. So currently we have like 17 articles in the process, and the primary industries are highlighted. I don't see. You see them highlighted? No, we don't see them highlighted. But anyways, it is legal sector and energy sector. They will probably go first, unless we will be instructed or for some reason will decide internally otherwise. So also a lot of these activities, they actually will result to establishing certain standards, because the area of standardization is currently not developed. So we established the pre-standardization initiative, and we already have experience. Our research group already had experience of starting the standard and basically driving it to the very last stages. We recently received, actually, we see on the screen one award, but we received 2 awards, one of them 2 days ago for the standard of the recurring transactions. And there will be a lot of standards coming for solving different tasks for the economies. And I currently present from Asia because last week I actually was presenting before the government of Taiwan this initiative for potentially Ukrainian researchers and Taiwanese researchers and then other researchers then to collaborate on creation of these standards. And well, we shall see how it will end up, but this is work in progress, so to speak. So who can participate, right? In a nutshell, everyone. So researchers in Ukraine, researchers outside of Ukraine with who have the knowledge, the required knowledge of some industry or distributed ledger technology, we are welcoming everyone. And basically, this research is designed to be decentralized. So basically, if you know something which you think can be helpful and you would like to contribute to the future of Ukraine, please feel free to reach out. Also, if organizations which are not organizations and individuals who are not in Ukraine and not from Ukraine can collaborate with us because we can exchange experience, so they can learn something from us, we can learn something from them, and that's how it can be fruitful and productive. And everyone else, so who is willing to participate, we're welcoming everyone. So yeah, this is it from my side. And now let's start the panel. So basically, first and most important question is actually where, on your opinion, decentralization can bring the biggest value in Ukraine. And I think we should start from the government perspective on this. Alex, please.
Yeah, thanks. Well, to answer this particular question, I think that from what I see is their energy and utility sector could definitely benefit through those decentralized projects, like I know, peer-to-peer energy trading, automated settlements, and we have this big problem with their energy security now. So I think that's kind of where we could look. And by the way, I just recently heard about some of those projects coming in and started to discussing this. Also, everything that's related to social payouts, and that's the next big thing that could be using DLT technologies. And I think that, like, speaking more generally, I still think that e-hryvnia, so our electronic version of our currency, is I think the most important project, because it's kind of provide you a vehicle where you can build those DLT projects on. Because without it, it's kind of hard to imagine how you can. Well, it could be done, but it's going to be like I don't know, fractured and not. I don't think it's going to have solid perspective. So, National Bank of Ukraine is. I know they were working on towards e-hryvnia project for like municipal payment, tokenized public bonds, and decentralization that allows for like transfer, instant and programmable transaction, and even like marked money, where you can mark actually with some color, blue, I don't know, red, and trace them. But it's not yet live, so I was still expecting it. But I think, like, to summarize, e-hryvnia is a necessary level that everything is then rest could be put on this level. Yeah, that's my vision.
That's very interesting. But when we're talking e-hryvnia, it's essentially CBDC, right?
Yeah, CBDC. Yeah, I'm basically talking.
Okay, got it. Paul?
So I was listening to what Alex was saying, and I was thinking to myself, in the short run, I generally agree with the answer around energy, although I'm not sure it's really around energy trading. I think it's actually more around raising capital. So sort of microgrids are actually quite difficult to put together, but what's relatively easy to do is to finance batteries and solar panels and other kind of distributed energy infrastructure. I think sort of by far the most proven short-term ROI in the whole crypto space is really around raising capital. Raising capital and distributing it to entrepreneurs is incredibly effective. I think in the medium term, really resilient supply chains and resilient kind of decentralized supply chains and resilient kind of information systems are a big benefit that come from implementing blockchain, and then it eventually expands into things like public sector procurement, where it's very corruption proof. And I think giving foreign aid donors confidence in how money is being spent is very important.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. We have Dimitrios joined. Dimitrios, feel free to introduce yourself, because when we ran through the series of introduction, you were not there, and yeah, there's the same question to you. If you want, I can repeat the question. So, where do you see the most benefit from the implementation of decentralization in the sectors of economy of Ukraine, or some how to say this, but based on maybe comparable examples or anything else?
Thank you very much. Apologies for this technological lapsus. Greetings from the United States. My name is Dimitris Psarakis, and I'm a senior fellow at Wharton Business School, where I'm teaching digital assets, and I'm doing research on digital assets. Before that, I was economic and monetary policy specialist at the European Parliament, where I had the opportunity to draft Title II and Title III of MiCA, the DLT pilot regime and the crowdfunding platforms regulation. And I'm very happy to share with you that last year I was commissioned by the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe to draft a regulation framework for crypto assets for Ukraine. So I took MiCA and I tried to accommodate it based on the macroeconomic and microeconomic needs of Ukraine, because copy-pasting a European Union regulation to Ukraine at this stage is at least dangerous. So on your question, of course, from an economic point of view, Web3 economy streamlines stuff and drives growth. So to me, I have 5 points that I think that we can seek streamlining of operations, which is, of course, lowering cost of capital with tokenization and global distribution, widening to investors, faster multiplier, milestone-based disbursements that reduce idle costs and accelerate project completion, export uplift with cheaper, faster settlements, anti-corruption dividend, and of course, green reindustrialization. The question is why? Because we need to find a model that allows the crowdsourcing of partnerships for the accelerating process, which is about all blended finance, diaspora channels, corporate anchor buyers, local banks and fintechs all should work together. And it also allows us to create key performance indicators, to test how things work, to pivot accordingly. So I see this as an infrastructure for accelerating growth. And I'm very rosy and very confident that this could be extremely beneficial for Ukraine at this stage.
Thank you so much. That's a very good input. Ramesh, please feel free to share your views. Where the decentralization can deliver the biggest value for the economy of Ukraine.
Right. I mean, obviously the
CBDC is a great starting point. Many countries are looking at it, and I mean, once you do that, I mean, you could always look at naturally tokenization of assets, right? National assets, and then even beyond that, I mean, you can use blockchain infrastructure for public expenditure tracking, and even tax collection, even refund, and so on. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with blockchain. Of course, the currency part is one, but there's also the just simple like ledger, immutable ledger part of it. The applications I mentioned. I mean, there's a whole list of things we can look at, but I don't know which direction you want to take the conversation, right? I mean, tokenization is another hot topic right now, right? I mean, I don't know if any country is looking at tokenizing their assets. So that's one, topic.
Well, we may actually streamline the conversation to any direction we want, because, and I also suggest we a little lower the pace, because first speaker actually had some technical issues for like 15 minutes, and because of that, we started all to speak, a little faster at the following presentation. But now, yeah, we are right on time, so please, we don't have time constraints, so your inputs are highly valuable for us and for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a few use cases, but I'll let others speak, and then we can talk more. I mean, we have like an hour, right?
Yeah. All right. So thank you for that, and yeah, Hart.
Awesome, thanks. So first of all, I agree with Alex about energy being very important. I also agree with Paul on the funding angle and think that's an excellent opportunity. I think something that no one else has said yet that I think is really important is a digital decentralized identity ecosystem. Lots of other things digitally go much, much better and much, much more smoothly if you've got good decentralized identity solutions backing them all up. Sort of how energy is the backbone for a lot of things, I also see decentralized digital identity as the backbone for a lot of digital efforts, particularly the funding, the anti-corruption, even things like a CBDC. I think having a digital identity system that's decentralized is really important.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you for this. And Alex, I wanted to ask, and what are the we have an identity system in India, right? And what are the views of Ministry of Digital Transformation on the decentralized digital identity?
Can you repeat the question?
So basically, DIA already have a digital identity. So every Ukrainian citizen have a digital identity in DIA app, right? What are, and again, if you are comfortable addressing this question now, what are the views about decentralization of digital identity of Ministry of Digital Transformation?
Well, there were a lot of conversation, especially since 2017, where the first rise of token propositions were started, and popularity of blockchain raised. But we were always stuck in the point where we were trying to find a way to let government data to be decentralized. So basically, the data that government possess, especially personal data and citizen usually, in Ukraine is not an exclusion here. It's protected by the law to be stored somewhere and under surveillance of certain authority. And if you ask them or you try to propose them to let this data to be on different computers, it's usually just I don't know, don't go anywhere, and they aggressively protect this this view that this data has to be centralized, otherwise they don't have power to protect it. There was a huge step forward when we agreed, and only because of the war in Ukraine, we moved forward to let government data to be in cloud. And I think the next step, maybe some of this data could be decentralized. And I actually did several attempts myself. We were trying to, I don't know, propose that, well, maybe we can store some registers data, like maybe on deeds and notary. We have thousands of notaries, so they can serve as a node, right? And they can confirm transactions. So I discussed this several times, but again, Ministry of Justice saying, okay, how we can release this data? This requires changes in the law. So I think the biggest challenge, when you were trying to make trying to move forward this decentralization, is basically our social consensus, like citizens has to, and the government has to agree that to let this data go to different nodes and not to be in this one place. And I don't know on this stage if it's possible, because of it's still, well, they're still afraid that this data could be lost. So I think we're gonna get there eventually. And but I quite frankly, I don't see a chance like to let DLT project on massive scale with government data in Ukraine in the close future. Like this is close to impossible. I'm sorry, but I just trying to be frank, and this is my view.
I think that's pretty normal for governments to move relatively more slowly and be somewhat conservative in this approach. I think, if you look at the U.S. market, for example, the Genius Act did a great job of kind of unleashing the energy of banks and other entities. But the U.S. federal government isn't themselves actually doing a lot directly on chain. They're doing things like accepting tax payments and things like that. So I think you're probably not alone in sort of struggling with kind of raising up the pace. I think realistically speaking, this is probably more about, blockchain is probably more about getting the private sector to step up investment or to raise capital and to take advantage of the enthusiasm that people have in this space for certain things. That might be, for buying crypto assets and tokens and things like that.
Well, we hope so.
All right. So, and we kind of organically have come into the next question, which is, what could be the key blockers and challenges in implementations? So, who would like to start?
Obviously, you have to think about what kind of blockchain, and obviously it's got to be open source. I don't know if that's okay with some governments, using open source solutions, because of course there are potentially security risks with open source. It's just not 100% foolproof. So that's one. And then the other thing is you're talking about decentralized infrastructure. So somebody has to fund it, even if it's open source, right? You have to keep the upgrades and development ongoing. And some of the issues that even if you use decentralized systems, right? Let's say, public or private blockchains, there's always going to be a need for some sort of governance. You can't have one person be in charge of some keys, or you can't have if it's a public chain, you can't have one person have all the keys. This has been an issue, even public blockchains, which people don't talk about too much. Is just one or two people control the keys for the treasury, right? Multi-million dollars of treasury, and basically that person has full control, even though the infrastructure is supposedly a decentralized infrastructure, but the treasury, the assets, are under the control of one or two people, right? Handful. In some of the blockchains that I'm aware of. And then if you end up using a private blockchain, even there, I mean, how many validators are you going to have, right? Even if it's run by, if it's a public blockchain, sorry, private blockchain run by a government, and they still have to have some sort of governance on who are the validators and so on. For example, EBSI, the Dimitris can talk about that. They have all these, each country running a node. That's what I hear. It may be different now. Like, they have this, all the EU countries running a node, and that's how they kind of maintain the governance. The governance is going to be an issue, even if you have used, so-called decentralized systems.
So Ramesh, I feel like you're describing, this like building a whole blockchain, and I'm sort of mystified as to why one would even need to do that, right? Public Ethereum is out there, just get on it and use it, right? You don't need to build it, you don't need to run it. Nobody controls the keys. Like you're describing a lot of issues that sound like building another layer 1 blockchain, and it doesn't seem like that's in any way necessary.
Well,
at this point.
if Alex is convinced to use Ethereum, sure.
Well, we were actually considering using Ethereum and Stellar and others. So that's how we're supposed to build this in the first place. And I think there were National Bank for CBDC was considering 3 or 5 different existing blockchains for sure.
Yeah, we also have Hart from Hyperledger. Yeah. So yeah,
I know which had private layer. So blockchain with the private layer were just enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll mention a couple of points here. First of all, I want to push back a little bit on the notion that open source software decreases security. Typically, it increases security. And, we have a lot of data about that at the Linux Foundation. Definitely encourage you or anyone listening to read the research reports on that. We also have loads of code bases for blockchains, both in the Linux Foundation and tons more outside. So whether, even if you did, and I'm not saying you should, but if you hypothetically wanted to build your own L1, your own L2, your own L3, your own private chain, your own something in between, it's all already basically been done for you. And unless you're, it's all free open source code too. So unless you're, unless you really need something new and different, which you probably don't, there are a lot of good existing solutions out there. And as Paul said, there's definitely, the opportunity to use existing chains. You can run something lightweight like your own L2 if you want as well. So there are a lot of, I think, easy options.
Yeah, but my point was not like open source is decreasing security. I was just saying it's not like 100%, I mean, no software is 100%, secure, right? I mean, look, the number one, I think we're talking about blockchains versus, if you look at the public blockchains, I mean, the number one security risk is in smart contract bugs. Even today, people are losing billions and millions of dollars because of bugs in smart contracts. It's open source. It's still happening, correct? So, I think I'll let others
So it
share.
is, and I mean, it is and it isn't, right? I mean, where people are losing lots of money, it's almost always at like the cutting edge of sophistication, like DeFi. But I think if you were to go and look like at sort of relatively straightforward investing, we've gotten really good at custody, and the rate of like custody breaches and break-ins has decreased dramatically over the last few years. So I think it's an indicator of sector maturity. As you move away from the frontier, the level of risk and fraud kind of does get lower. You make a fair point, but I don't think that private blockchains really kind of solved that issue, because they incubate solutions that don't hold up very well once you put them in a public ecosystem.
Demetrius, I guess, is not here because he was involved in EPSI. It'd be nice to hear their perspectives. I'm just curious if, Sergey, I know you had some conversations. I don't know if Alex had some conversations with EPSI folks. There was a point you were talking about it. Yeah. The European blockchain service
Yeah,
infrastructure.
we actually were, we got a status. We're not the European Union country yet. So we've got observer status in EPSI, and they had this pilot case to build, to move university diplomas data on this blockchain. So this way they can verify if it's legit or not, which I think makes sense. So like if you're if your university in the European Union, all the diplomas you're issuing, they're storing in distributed ledger. So this way they verify their validity. And I don't know the state of this product. We didn't have meetings with EPSI for quite a time, but we have an observer status. We cannot vote, but we kind of can observe what's going on.
May I jump in here?
Absolutely, you are most welcome. And yeah, when you got disconnected, we were talking that it would be great for you to be with us and join. So yeah,
okay. So let me tell you first and foremost that the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, this is the EPSI for those who don't understand what EPSI is, was an initiative that came from our team in order to streamline the operations in many aspects of data governance in the European Union and have sharing infrastructures and do useful stuff for the citizens. And I want to tell you that as it usually happens with the most government initiatives, it was a miserable failure in the beginning. And it was a failure on two sides. First, failure to ensure that the central governance structure of the European Commission is really the appropriate organization to run a project like this. And another was very, very practical. I mean, the Swedish government said, okay, you want me to upload the health data of the Swedish citizens on this platform, which practically is a centralized permissioned architecture, and you want me to risk all this in this infrastructure? I will never let it happen. So for the first 3 years, we're just burning money. And the deputy minister mentioned the idea of onboarding the university diplomas. It took us 3 times terrible spending in order to do something that Ireland did in 1 month, and we paid it 12 times more in order to have this architecture, because in the beginning we had this Ethereum obsession that all the architecture should be decentralized and not use oracles. And it was impressive that in the first 2 years, the officials who were running this didn't know what an oracle is. So they wanted decentralized architectures all the way. So if you wanted to go to, say, Dimitris was in Harvard, year 1998, go send Oracle there, get the data, come back, positive, negative, put it in the Europass, which is the European Union CD. This never happened. It could cost $100 to do it. It never happened. We spent it 1 million 3 times. So all this, and if allow me to be a little bit philosophical, what level should be the level of governance to organize this Web3 economy, and what trust? And I usually say this example with my students in Wharton. With blockchain, we learned that we can engineer trust in a level after what social engineering in the Hegelian or Marx or Fukuyama sense may say that, okay, we can engineer the trust of the citizens with social engineering. With blockchain, we can engineer trust further. because we take the trust from the institution to the code. This is the one story. Wrong, right, it could work, it may not. But there is another layer too. In every scientific revolution, we always had a progress claimed by one pillar. What I mean is this. We have technically three pillars that organize the economy. The one pillar is the state. The second pillar is the market. The third pillar, economic extremely significant. This is called community. And this community is institution. Are you with me? Because
sorry, there is a connection problem. Is it only on my end or
No. Yeah, it's breaking up for me too.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Can you please repeat the last maybe 30 seconds?
Yes.
The three pillars. You're talking about three pillars.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are three pillars. The pillar called state, the pillar called market, and there was always a third pillar in the organization of the society, which is called community, which had strong economic and social implications. Whenever we had a scientific revolution, one of the two were competing.
No, it's almost impossible to hear.
Yeah, yes.
I wonder if video.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah. Sorry for that, guys.
Try turning off the video, Dimitri.
Up. Okay. Is it any better now?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Any better? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So I was saying that whenever we had the scientific revolution, market and state was trying to compete to control it. And on the process, we had super capitalistic states or super centralistic states, and the community was losing its power. Now, in this blockchain, artificial intelligence, quantum computing revolution, first time we have the opportunity to have a technological framework that actually can give to the community back power. So I suspect that for the states and the market is a little bit painful to allow to the communities to start building infrastructure based on Web3 economy, because Web3 is the infrastructure that will materialize the return of the community. And I think that knowing Ukraine, for people, for good friends, they know me. I have supported the operations, the military operations, using Web3 sources, and of course, not the central state. I think that this is very fundamental to build a new concept of state. That Europe cannot do it because it has a lot of legacy systems that work very well. America is exactly the same. Seeking for examples in China or India, I don't think that this is a serious thing to do. But Ukraine has the capability to build a new kind of state. My question in the European Parliament last week was, is Web3 the last destination? Can we have Web4, Web5? I would like to take your view on this, because the feeling is that Web3 is the last destination, and then we speak about Web3 plus. That's all from my side. Some thoughts that I just wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Well, that's interesting. And maybe just a quick follow-up to what Dimitri said. The concept that we have chosen back in 2019, when we just started, Minister of Digital Transformation was created, and President Zelensky said, you need to build a country in smartphone, and we introduced the concept of digital state. So Ukraine moving to digital state. And recently we changed this concept, but not to Web3, but we said we continue to build not digital state, but we start to build agentic state. So the bet is on AI, and yeah, we don't have much of the legacy that the European Union has, and that allow us to, and in Ukraine we don't have to do, I don't know, ask anybody except us, and we started to building this agentic state. So all this, everything is going to be based on AI eventually. To make long story short.
All right. Does
Am I
anyone
the
else?
only one who is a little bit scared about it?
Actually, we have like, Paul here who's like,
Sorry, Ramesh, now it is on your end.
And he was just going to get to something good about me. I feel like I should play Mad Libs and just make up what he was going to say. But I feel like maybe Demetrius is a little bit sort of more philosophical than I would probably be about some of these things, right? I personally think EBSI didn't work because fundamentally it was a centralized approach to blockchain, and blockchains that are centralized don't really work and have no particular use. So I never really understood the point of EBSI to begin with, and I actually think the Swedes had a pretty good point there. I'm probably not.
Thank you. Thank you.
I probably sort of lean towards the more like pragmatic side of things. I'm really interested in like basically facilitating infrastructure, raising capital, doing it quickly. To me, the assumption around doing something on like public Ethereum is really all about just speed to market, speed to getting things done, and the fact that you get to leverage not just the software. Open source is great, like you get to leverage other people's work. Ethereum is great because not only do you get to leverage the open source software of other people, but you also get to leverage the global infrastructure, right? 10 years without going down, right? If you have an application running on top of Ethereum, it doesn't matter if there's not a single electron running in all of the Ukraine, that application will still keep running. And I think that's actually quite useful. And when your country is under attack, the ability to move some activity offshore is useful, not a liability. I think we have Ramesh back. Ramesh, you were winding up to criticize me, and I was here for it. Oh, and you're muted though.
Yeah, Ramesh, yeah, you're muted.
And I didn't do that to you. Just to be clear, I don't have that power. And he's gone again.
Yeah.
Well, I just clicked unmute. No, there is a connection problem again.
do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't criticizing you, Paul. I was just saying we have Paul representing like public blockchain, Ethereum, and Hart, private blockchain expert, and then Dimitris about the government-built blockchain. So you have Alex as like all the.
Well, that's how the how to say this healthy discussion should be present. We are not biased to the particular side, right? And we have experts who are actually presenting and able to defend different views. So and that's great. Ramesh.
Yeah, no, my connection is not great. But I was just saying we have, Alex has multiple choices here to consider. I represent IEEE. We try to stay neutral. We don't promote a particular technology or product. The thing is to look at the technology. Right?
All right. So we are, by the way, we have 9 minutes, but we, if needed, can stay a little longer. And we have 2 more questions. So one question is about policies, and which policies should be enabled to unlock the value the faster. So again, what are the, figuratively speaking, lowest hanging fruits in this direction? So what could be done fast to achieve the fastest and the most efficient results?
Well, I can start maybe. Well, in Ukraine, there's a law on registers, and according to this law, the data from the register has to be stored in some centralized place. So in terms of policies, I think that, well, I think that's true for most of the countries, the similar approach. So they have laws that makes mandatory storing of data in one place. And I believe that there should be allowed for some of the categories, and Dimitros gave the example of Sweden and healthcare. Of course, well, we had the same conversation here in Ukraine, so like how we can allow this kind of data to be distributed. But I think that from policy standpoint, there are two ways. First, in the law, strictly say, yeah, this kind of data could be decentralized, and then private companies can work with government to make it happen. The other way, we have a sandbox for Web3 in Ukraine, and we can also create sort of a experiment or a pilot where we can try to pilot those kind of things and allow us, government employees, to have legal background to give this data without legal consequences for us. So I think for policy, because I'm a policymaker basically, and I need to make sure that in the law not prohibiting me to let this data go decentralized. So I think that's pretty much simple.
Thank you, Alex. I think Dimitrios, it is close to your area of expertise, so maybe you should be next.
Thank you. For a fast victory, I would like to suggest Alex to read the regulatory framework for crypto assets I drafted for them, which is based on two economic assumptions. First, that your economy should not does not reflect the realities of the European Union. So just replicating a European Union regulation in the prospect of becoming members of the Union 7-8 years from now can only kill the way you the ways you need to put in place in order to accelerate growth and sustainability in the governance settings of Ukraine. And I also believe that you need to strike the appropriate balance between the accession to the European Union and to the realities in general. Because sometimes the way DigiConnect speaks with good intentions do not really. DigiConnect is the directorate from the European Commission responsible for connectivity and this digital economy. This is not always the most appropriate way in dealing with the idiosyncratic needs of Ukraine. I would also suggest that you put in place a framework that allows the engagement of the super strong, in terms of human capital, diaspora. And there are ways to do it in an efficient way and link this flow of knowledge with flows of capital. So yeah, I don't think that we need to reinvent economics in order to run efficiently public economics and growth economy policy right now. But what we need to do is to reconsider who controls stuff and who is allowed to move things forward.
Yeah, thank you. Paul, Ramesh, Hart, what are your views on this? And yeah, you represent organizations which has diverse experience from various standpoints, and doing implementations in different countries and observing them from various points of view.
I'll let Hart go first.
All right, if you insist. I agree with Alex. Just letting people, put not necessarily sensitive data, but important data that's needed for transactions and other functionalities on chain would be extremely useful. I don't know exactly what the state of the law is in Ukraine, but I think the Genius Act, as people have referred to before, was a really nice and useful piece of legislation, even if it wasn't always perfect. And just moving in that direction and allowing people to do things and trade things that might resemble securities on a blockchain is going to be extremely useful.
And I'll put in my closing 2 cents, which is I really think the lesson from the last few years is that kind of maybe 2 important lessons. Number one, the quality of the participants in the marketplace matter a lot. If you have really high quality companies and entrepreneurs, then you're going to get relatively good results. And number 2, quality is heavily determined. Quality of the participants is heavily determined by the quality of the regulation. And what I really mean by that is that companies that have a long-term time horizon, they're thinking they can be quite risk averse in terms of not wanting to do things that might be seen as breaking the law or something that you could be prosecuted for in the future. They're not going to test the envelope in most cases. The Genius Act and MICA are 2 really good examples of where establishing the rules of the road are what brought in a lot of quality investors feeling comfortable that their risk would be rewarded in the market and not potentially be punished by some kind of like prosecution or fine or something in the future. So even if the government themselves doesn't want to do a lot directly, putting together a really good regulatory roadmap and kind of laying out the rules of the road will do a huge amount to lure in high quality participants that will make these markets work in a very productive and useful way.
Thank you, Paul. So we basically have 1 minute left for this panel. Any closing words, closing remarks? We didn't go to the last question, which was related to the opportunities for international collaboration, but I believe this could be the separate big topic of the following conversations we will have. So yeah, please, let's do the round maybe of closing words and yeah.
Make use of Ethereum, it's already there.
Great. That's actually, EVM is by far the largest established standards of smart contracts. So yeah, very supportive to these views.
I would suggest from a policy perspective to design policy and regulatory frameworks of Ukraine that do not necessarily rely on the idea of technological neutrality, because technological neutrality lies in the mouth of everyone, same risk, same law. But technological neutrality is a fake principle if it's not coupled with the fundamental idea of business model neutrality. Because the regulation that favors certain business models over others overall brings market concentration and monopolies that are not necessarily good for the market and the efficiency of the projects.
Thank you, Dimitrios.
I'll just quickly say, from a very pragmatic perspective, start with bite-sized chunks, prove stuff out, and then move on to bigger applications.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Is my audio okay?
Yes, Ramesh.
I mean, I guess it'd be great to have like a roadmap, right? Like which ones you want to target first? I mean, you talked about, energy and central bank digital currency, and you can have a roadmap, or like, I mean, certain things could take 10 years or even 20 years. You know, of course, you know, all these blockchains that we hear today, I mean, they're all making a lot of progress, and also there are issues with them too. None of them is perfect. So I guess it doesn't make sense for, you know, for example, Ukraine to start building a new blockchain. They could basically use the existing ones and see what's appropriate, and, you know, compare and see what's suitable for what they're trying to do. You know, if they identify, once they have the roadmap and see what are they trying to accomplish and what blockchains are there, and, you know, if it serves a purpose, they could start with that instead of trying to rebuild a new blockchain. And some companies, some governments, I should say, I don't want to name them, apparently they are building their own blockchain. Like, I know a handful of governments, they're trying to build their own blockchain. You know, that doesn't make sense to me, if you ask me. The capital and also the learning, it just, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'll stop here. Yeah.
Well, I really have to go, and maybe like a closing remark, I would say that what I really lack of is a government representative, that the cases that where I really see the value of decentralized networks. So I'm like looking forward to see them, and sometimes I'm just looking where there's successful example of those, and I think that's most important now, to show those cases, and then well, believe me, I'll be happy to start implementing them on government scale. So that's like something that I always keep in mind, like, where are those cases? Show me. Thank you.
That's our job to find them and combine them.
Sorry. Minister, ABC has created a fantastic volume that brings together all these cases. We are going to send you this and start exploring from where you can start.
Thank you. Yeah, please. Yes. We can connect us, Sergey, if possible.
Absolutely, yes. I suggest after this panel, I will create the email thread where we will be able to follow this up.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.